Good morning. Pangyo in the city of Seongnam just south of Seoul is named Korea's 8th innovation center, aimed to serve as the base camp for small and mid-sized enterprises. 3 teams of medical personnel from Korea have returned from Sierra Leone after joining the fight against Ebola. We hear from the group leader of the second team. As investigations continue, prosecutors confirmed the Germanwings Flight 9525's co-pilot was treated for suicidal tendencies before acquiring his commercial pilot's license. And all-you-can-eat at restaurants around the country with unlimited access to what your heart desires. Better prices with the quality to match on Korea Today, Tuesday, March 31st, 2015.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And a good Tuesday morning. Thank you for joining us on Korea Today. I'm Kim Myung alongside Jin-ju and Kim Min-jung.
Good morning, everyone. Now, if you're in need of some serious healing, we might have an idea for you. There's a small mountain in Gwaesan, Chungcheongbuk-do province where you might be able to do just that. The Korea Forest Service and private food and beverage companies have planted some 3,000 pine trees to make a healing forest.
That's a lot of trees.
And it's not just the good and healthy substances that these trees release, but the green color can really help you ease stress. So a walk around this forest will be very healing, I guess.
That mountain does not look like much now, but imagine years down the road, the trees will be a lot taller and thicker, so walking down that mountain will really make you heal.
Right, and the Korea Forest Service also plans to plant trees in 14 hectares of that mountain, so it'll be a big forest there, so why don't we keep our eyes on it?
All right. Now moving on to our headlines on this Tuesday morning. Korea has launched its 8th innovation center, this time in Gyeonggi-do province near Seoul, with the aim to facilitate the country's drive for a creative economy. President Park Geun-hye attended the inauguration ceremony on Monday, along with 150 government officials, foreign company executives, and investors to welcome the launch in the planned district of Pangyo in Gyeonggi-do province.
판교는 우리 중소벤처의 글로벌 진출 베이스 캠프가 되고 경기 혁신센터는 믿음직한 셀파가 돼서 스타트업들의 해외 시장 개척을 안내하게 될 것입니다.
The Gyeonggi Innovation Center, headed by Korea's leading telecom carrier KT Corporation, will assist startups in the up-and-coming gaming and financial technology industries known as fintech, with a fund of 105 billion won, or about $95 million. The latest move comes with the government's ambitious plan to turn Pangyo, already home to 870 high-tech companies, into the country's biggest tech cluster, equivalent to the Korean version of Silicon Valley.
On Monday, Korea Aerospace Industries was selected as the top bidder for Korea's indigenous fighter jet development program. In partnership with Lockheed Martin, KAI beat out Korean Airlines, teamed with Airbus for the $7.8 billion KFX project to replace the country's aging fleet of fighter jets and deploy the new models by 2032. The Defense Acquisition Program Administration will continue negotiations with KAI over price and technology-related issues and finalize its decision in June. KAI has unrivaled experience in military aircraft development, having manufactured and exported the T-50 trainer and the FA-50 light attack fighter under partnership with Lockheed Martin. During Monday's Defense Acquisition Committee session, the decision to purchase Patriot Advanced Capability 3 interceptors was also made. Seoul has been pushing to upgrade the current system to counter Pyongyang's evolving ballistic missile threats with new interceptors that have advanced hit-to-kill technology.
And findings show the perception Koreans have on who should look after their parents in their later years is changing, according to a report on Monday by the Korea Development Institute based on figures from Statistics Korea. Only a tad over 31% of those surveyed last year thought families should be in charge of supporting their elderly parents, a stark contrast from 2002 when more than 70% believed so. A larger number of respondents said that caregiving for aging parents should be a collaborative effort made by families, society, as well as the government, with nearly 50% voicing their support for it. This is a jump from the figure of 18% who said so more than a decade ago.
Following the outbreak of Ebola in West Africa in January last year, countries around the world have been dispatching medical teams to the region to help contain the deadly virus. Korea was no exception. It sent 3 groups of medical personnel to Sierra Leone, one following the other, starting last December, and the last team returned home this past week. We sat down with one of the doctors who headed Korea's second team of medical volunteers to learn more about their mission and what it was like to fight Ebola on the front line.
More than 9,800 people have been killed and 23,000 infected by the deadly Ebola virus since it broke out last year in January. The United Nations and some 30 countries have joined in on the fight against Ebola in West African countries, such as Guinea and Sierra Leone, providing medical supplies and personnel. Korea is no exception and has been taking part in the global efforts to contain the Ebola outbreak. It dispatched a total of 24 medical workers in 3 teams and provided $12.6 million in financial assistance. Under an agreement with the UK, Korea dispatched its medical team to Sierra Leone, where the Ebola virus was spreading quickly, with a large number of patients in critical condition. The Korean medical team, composed of doctors and nurses, were in charge of treating these patients. Professor Lee Jae-gap is a doctor specializing in internal medicine and infectious diseases at Hallym University Medical Center. When the Korean government was recruiting volunteers, he signed up immediately and has played an important role leading the second relief team.
맨 처음에 도착했을 때 공항에 딱 새벽에 도착했거든요. 어두운데 우리나라처럼 딱 이렇게 바로 이제 들어가는 게 아니라 이제 한 명씩 한 명씩 그 염소 우리나라면 이제 락스 성분 들어있는 염소 성분 들어있는 물로 손을 깨끗이 씻고 그 다음에 이제 열을 재면서 공항 건물 안으로 이제 들어갔었거든요. 그래서 처음 느꼈던 거는 진짜 이제 에볼라 현장에 이제 내가 도착했구나. 처음에 이제 입국 수속을 하는데 이제 제가 이제 그런 일들로 오는 거를 이제 정보가 이미 공유가 됐던 것 같아요. 그 입국 심사하는 직원들에서 너 에볼라 파이터로 온 거냐 딱 물어보더라고요. 그래서 손짓 놀라면서도 그렇다고 그것 때문에 온 거라고 그러면서 좀 마음을 다잡으면서 시작했던 것 같아요.
The first and second Korean relief teams have returned to Korea in good health with no symptoms of the virus. Last week, the third team came back to Korea, and they're also undergoing their mandatory quarantine for 3 weeks, which is the maximum incubation period for the virus, before they can return to their daily lives. Local temperatures in Sierra Leone were well above 30 degrees Celsius, and this presented many challenges for the medical staff.
그러니까 한국 와서 되게 편하게 느낀 거는 그 보호복 있잖아요. 이렇게 뭐 옷 다 입고 마스크 쓰고 막 이러는 상황에서 그 환자를 보는 거하고 그런 거 아무것도 없이 환자를 보는 게 정말 정말 천지 차이구나. 보호복 입고 2시간 정도 넘어가면 안에 옷이 다 젖을 정도가 되고요. 심지어는 원래 그러면 안 되는데 보호복 옆으로 이렇게 땀이 이렇게 뚝뚝뚝뚝 떨어질 정도. 그래서 그 정도 되면 이제 보호복 자체도 이제 약간 뚫렸을 가능성 배제를 못하니까 저희가 이제 땀이 막 밖으로 흘러나올 정도 되면 이제 나오기도 했거든요. 그래서 옷을 벗을 때쯤 되면은 정말 이 옷이 땀이 완전히 쩔어붙어가지고 이게 벗겨지지 않는 상황인데 그런 것들 환자를 좀 이렇게 더 깊게 보고 싶지만 그럴 만한 물리적인 이제 장벽이 그러니까 우리가 이제 보호복을 입고 있고 또 그 안에 이제 시설이나 이런 것들이 충분치 않다 보니까 그런 부분들이 조금 어려웠었던 것 같은데 그래도 환자들이 뭐 이겨내고 이런 것들을 보니까 저희들 좀 어려워하는 거에 비해서 환자들이 더 강하구나 생각들이 더 많이 들었습니다.
At the time of the team's dispatch, Sierra Leone had nearly 340 infected patients. Those numbers dropped dramatically to 55 at the time of their return. Korean doctors worked together with personnel from other countries, discussing patients' conditions and treatment options. Meanwhile, the nurses were in charge of tending to patients in critical condition.
저희가 오기 한 2주 전쯤 됐을 때 환자가 갑자기 확 늘었거든요. 그러니까 그런 걸 보면서 아무리 1년 이상 그렇게 유행을 하더라도 국민들 안에서도 이제 그런 부분에 무지한 사람들 아직 남아 있고 그다음에 중간중간에 완전히 없어지기 전까지는 계속해서 이런 산발적인 유행이 있을 거라. 그래서 뭐 여름 때쯤 되면 많이 줄어들긴 하겠지만 그 여름이 되기까지 아니면 올해 말까지는 이렇게 지지부진하게 조금씩 한 번씩 발생하는 경우가 계속 있을 거라 생각이 돼서 그래서 좀 올해 내에 많이 정리는 되겠지만 어쨌든 긴장은 늦출 수 없겠다. 저희가 또 딱 그거를 몸소 체험을 하고 왔더니 이제 정말 긴장을 늦추면 안 되겠구나 생각이 딱 들더라고요.
The government of Sierra Leone has expressed its deep gratitude for Korea's active medical support to counter the Ebola virus, saying a friend in need is a friend indeed.
I believe that this operation definitely contributing to enhancing and strengthening the two countries' relationship. In particular, this operation took place when the Syrian government opened their embassy here in Korea. So I strongly believe that the Korea's efforts will be well received by the people in Sierra Leone as well as the government itself.
Emergency relief teams were dispatched for 3 months, the longest period in the history of the country's overseas disaster relief team. The teams are seen as having expanded horizons for Korea's humanitarian support in response to a new type of threat from infectious diseases.
최근에 너무 많은 일들이 있었잖아요. 그러니까 뭐 사스부터 시작해서 신종플루도 그렇고 뭐 최근에 중동의 메르스라 그래서 그런 것들도 있고 에볼라도 있고 이런 것들을 보면서 이제 느낀 것들은 이제 그러니까 이번에 경험했던 것들이 앞으로 정말 중요한 자산이 돼야 된다는 생각이 들어서 그러니까 저희가 실제 가서 환자들도 보고 치료했었는데 그런 시스템들 그리고 그다음에 그런 새로운 질병이 이제 새로 발견될 때 일단 처음에 발견도 좀 빨리 해야 되고 앞으로 이제 우리나라도 이 부분에서 열심히 준비를 하고 있었지만 이번 경험을 통해서 조금 한 단계 좀 발전해 나가야 되지 않을까 생각이 좀 많이 듭니다.
Although Korea's Ebola relief teams have completed their missions, the outbreak has not completely been stamped out. Seoul says it will review the chances for continual support and find ways to help rebuild the medical infrastructure in areas devastated by the Ebola virus.
Good morning. It's time to run through the front pages of your newspapers. Now, a variety of issues on the local papers today. Let's begin with a top header regarding facilities in Japan that are looking to be listed on the UNESCO World Heritage Site list. And that one here is on 동아일보. And this title says 11 places in Japan carrying sorrows of Korean forced laborers on the brink of becoming World Heritage Sites. Now, these 11 sites include the Hashima coal mine and the Nagasaki shipyard, and they are places that Japan refers to as iconic industrial facilities of its Meiji era, but they also carry painful memories for Korean slave laborers during World War II. Thousands of Korean draftees were forced to work in these facilities, many who died in harsh conditions or while trying to escape. And if we go ahead and look at these sub-headlines right here, even though listing facilities that are laden with the pain of a neighboring country seems to be in violation of the principles and the spirit of becoming a World Heritage Site, Tokyo has gone ahead and registered for these sites without mentioning the fact they were used for forced labor. Now, the consultative body of the UNESCO has found the sites eligible for registration. It seems highly likely that at this point that the facilities to make it on the list after passing a vote this July. And the paper says Korea has been standing idly by while Japan has played well in this diplomatic game. Meanwhile, we'll go over to another story here on 조선일보 regarding Korea's position amid all of the diplomatic affairs. And the article is called Crisis or Opportunity, Korean Diplomacy Put to the Test. So the gist of the situation is that Korea has become sandwiched between the two superpowers, the U.S. and China, as they step up efforts to win a greater presence in the Asia-Pacific region. All of this signaling perhaps a diplomatic crisis for Korea. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, however, some observers claim that Korea's status may be growing amidst the competitive structure between the big superpowers. And if we take a look at the sub-headlines right here, on this, the Foreign Ministry yesterday said the depending on how you look at the situation, it could be a blessing in disguise. Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se also refuted head-on criticism regarding the dual issues of joining the China-led AIIB, as well as discussing the possible deployment of the U.S. THAAD battery on Korean soil, that it is necessary to push ahead with firm decisions once it is believed they are right. Now, experts, however, fear that Korea is simply passively responding to the current changing circumstances and that it is lacking a long-term strategy in terms of its diplomacy. And we'll go over onto some business news. This one on the Korea Economic Daily regarding Oil Bank, and the title says corporate bond with rate in 1% range first issued by Oil Bank. For the first time ever, local corporate bonds have been issued with a record low 1% range interest rate. Now, Korea's Hyundai Oil Bank, a petroleum and refinery company, is the first company to do so, as it has issued $63 million worth of bonds with a 3-year maturity at a yield rate of 1.976%. And wrapping with the Mail Business newspaper, we'll take a look at this side headline. And this one is about Qualcomm. And this reads, brakes slammed on Qualcomm's abuse of patent, Samsung to be relieved of royalty burden. It seems that Korean smartphone makers like Samsung and LG will be relieved of the burden from paying patent fees or royalty fees demanded by so-called patent trolls like Qualcomm, the paper says. And this is as the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, an international standard-setting organization, approved a policy to prevent the abuse of such patents. Now, that was a look at our local headlines this Tuesday, and following are the stock numbers from Monday.
Now, according to the weather agency, the yellow dust conditions throughout the country are bad, but the good news is that we are going to receive some rain starting in the southern region.
I think that is actually good news that we have been waiting for. Now, temperatures have been cooperating, but the air quality levels have not. For more on today's weather, we'll go to Chun Sung-cho for more.
Good morning to
Sung-cho,
you,
good morning.
Sung-cho.
Good morning, guys. That's right. If it weren't for the yellow dust, we've been enjoying these beautiful spring flowers and warmer than average temperatures right now instead. Currently, it's about 11 degrees Celsius here in Seoul, and we're starting off with relatively comfortable conditions this morning. However, high levels of particulate matter and yellow dust are ruining the party with bad air quality and hazy visibility. Fine dust concentration in the air is 127 micrograms per cubic meter in Seoul and 148 in Gyeonggi-do province, raising its alert system to bad in the regions. These numbers are about 4 times the average. Fortunately, though, we have some precipitation in store for all across the country today, so you should definitely take an umbrella with you on your way out this morning. The air conditions will be much improved, as about 5 millimeters of sprinkles are expected to come down starting around midday. The east and the south coastal regions and Jeju will be getting a little bit more significant rain of up to 30 millimeters. And besides washing away all this dust, this is also set to alleviate the dry weather conditions that we've been dealing with for quite some time now. And with that, let's take a closer look at today's temperature readings around the nation. Mercury levels will peak at 17 here in Seoul during the day, a bit lower than yesterday, and top out at 22 in Daegu, again surpassing the 20-degree mark. The rain will subside tonight, and another rain round is expected on late Thursday. This is all for me with the weather forecast. Back to you, Minjung, in the studio.
And time now to get a check on the stories making headlines around the world. At this hour, we'll connect with our Eunice Kim at the News Center. Good morning, Eunice.
Good morning, Minjung.
Now, in the ongoing probe into last week's Germanwings crash, German prosecutors are now confirming that the co-pilot of the plane indeed had a suicidal past.
Right, and the operative word there is past, I would say. As authorities said, Andreas Lubitz had no such indication in recent years. Dusseldorf public prosecutor Christoph Kumpa told reporters Lubitz, suspected of driving his passenger plane into the Alps on purpose last week, had received psychotherapy treatment several years before getting his pilot's license for his suicidal tendencies. He added recent doctor's visits had produced sick notes but showed no record of desire to hurt others or to commit suicide. The prosecutor said they were still trying to identify the 27-year-old's motive for allegedly killing all 150 passengers and crew, adding they had not found a suicide note. Meanwhile, a 100-strong task force in Germany continues to investigate this crash. So far, a little more than half, 80 of the victims, have been identified via DNA. An official memorial service is set to be held on April 17th at Germany's famed Cologne Cathedral, to be attended by the country's president and chancellor to remember the deceased. And new this morning, a vehicle crash at the entrance of America's spy agency has ended with 2 people hurt and 1 suspect dead. Officials said 2 men dressed in women's clothing tried to drive their SUV through the gates of the NSA headquarters in Fort Meade, Maryland. One of the 2 men was shot by guards and later died, while the second man and a police officer were hurt. The FBI said the shooting scene was contained and there was no reason to believe it was related to terrorism. Now, a local broadcaster, NBC News, reported that drugs and a firearm were found inside the stolen vehicle.
Let's switch gears a bit and turn to some creepy crawlies. One German company says some robotic ants could be the next factory workers of the future. Now, enlighten us, Eunice. What is this about?
Sure. Well, they're just about the size of a human hand and are said to be lasered layer by layer in a completely new way, using melted 3D plastic powder and the circuitry on the ant itself printed on the body. That is according to the German company called Festo, which takes its inspiration from nature. It said the team wanted to replicate not only the anatomy of real-world ants, but also the teamwork that the industrial creatures are so famous for. The robots transport large, heavy loads by working together and also communicate with each other wirelessly using a radio module in its abdomen. Now, being flexible to adapt to different production requirements will be important in future systems, says the engineering firm, as factories will have to more and more push out customized products. Festo does plan to exhibit these robotic ants in April at Hannover Messe, which is the world's largest industrial technology fair. So, Minjung, if you happen to be in Germany next month, that's something you might want to check out.
Right, people usually welcome these technological advances, but I really don't know what people think about this one. It feels a little creepy.
Right. They look like it, but perhaps it'll help with efficiency. We'll see.
All right. In any case, thank you for that, Eunice.
You bet.
Still ahead on Korea Today. Spinning ceilings, blurry vision, and nausea. These are just some of the symptoms associated with dizziness stemming from various causes, such as disorders in the ears or brain. If you're experiencing persistent conditions, it's likely more than simple fatigue, so we'll look at some causes and treatment options with a doctor. While Korea, China, and Japan may have political disagreements, a new exhibit is bringing artists from these countries together for a united approach to art. Our Yuni has more on that. Good morning, Yuni.
Good morning. So the Seoul Museum of Art is currently hosting a contemporary art exhibition called The Subtle Triangle. Now it features the work of three of the top artists from Asia, one from Korea, one from China, and one from Japan. They've come together for a united front for art. Take a look.
This might look like just another grocery shop, with fully stocked shelves ready for shoppers. There are even customers and staff. But all of this is part of Shanghai Supermarket, an installation art piece by Chinese artist Xu Zhen. He's recreated a life-size market, but all of the boxes, bags and cans, they're empty, already consumed by the artist.
This isn't about whether we see this as a piece of art or not, but rather that the products are purchased and even taken home. The artist wants the experience to continue outside the gallery.
Drowned in glowing screens, Japanese artist Koizumi Mero creates a video work titled Theater Dreams, where he explores human emotions and our response to historical events.
Living abroad gave me a kind of objective view towards Japan. So after I came back to Japan, I could see Japan more objectively. And that's kind of starting point of what I'm doing now.
Also for the exhibition, Korean artist Yang Ah-chi unveils his new experimental project, Sea Salt Theater, where he looks at some geographical elements of Asia.
I hope people have a range of experiences here. You're listening to the audio aspect, but you can also experience the sense of touch and even smell.
But there's more to see than these three works of art. The exhibition also offers an examination of art history within Asia, paying close attention to cultural exchanges between the three countries since 1989.
The name of the last artist, Yang Ah-chi, that's a very interesting name indeed.
Right,
now, it's not exactly the type of artwork that I had imagined to see. I was imagining that there may be certain political statements or historical statements.
Right, so these pieces of art don't exactly comment on the relationship between the countries per se directly, but they do offer a look at the fact that these three artists come from very different backgrounds, but at the same time, they do share a lot of similarities when it comes to their approach to art.
Okay, so there's a lot of statements about Asian art as a whole. So what does this exhibition tell us, or what is it trying to convey?
Right, so first of all, these three artists are considered some of the leaders of the art front here in Asia, and so you can definitely look to them for that as a representative sort of the art culture here. But also, with this exhibition, they want to sort of negate past conceptions about the art culture here that's very Western influence, and they want to redefine, I guess, what people conceive as the art culture of Asia. And so with this exhibition, they really want to show the different artists of Korea, China, and Japan, and do some of this artwork.
Basically a concentrated East Asian art exhibition. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
And still ahead on Korea Today, eat all you can at some new joints around the country that are providing unlimited access to everything from lobsters, steak, and even desserts. These all-you-can-eat restaurants are offering better prices with improved quality of meals. Alex Segrets checks out the bottomless options. You don't want to miss it.
Now, two of the biggest names in Korea mobile services industries, KT Planet and Daum Kakao, have each launched mobile cab hailing apps.
They're called Team Map Taxi by SK Planet and Kakao Taxi. We'll have more on these two apps with our Son Misurang, who joins us here in the studio. Good morning, Misurang.
Good morning, that's right. So Team Map Taxi was launched yesterday, while Kakao Taxi app will be launched later today. So I'm going to explain to you how they basically work. An outline, let's for example say that I'm going home after work. So I use the app on my phone to request a cab. The app will match me to taxis nearby and alert the driver through the driver version of the app. Sounds simple, right?
It is. But we already have well-established call taxi services here in Korea. So what makes this different from
The
those?
difference. So the benefit for the customer is that there's no separate call charge involved, which is usually $1 to $2 per call, depending on how far you go and the time of the day. So they save on that. For the driver, because they don't have to remain loyal to just one company, they have access to a greater pool of potential clients. So there's that benefit. Now, being mobile apps, of course, the other benefit is that they can be linked to other mobile services. For example, T-Map Taxi is linked to the company's GPS service T-Map, while Kakao Taxi is linked to Kakao Talk. And down the line, they're not in place yet, but down the line, they'll be linked to their separate companies' mobile payment options, such as Smart Wallet for T-Map Taxi and Kakao Wallet for Kakao Taxi. Now, you might have noticed that there were many similar apps already launched in Korea, but none of them have really taken off. But given the sheer marketing aggressiveness of the company as well as the size, many market analysts expect that these two new apps do have a greater chance at establishing themselves as daily apps.
Just about every Korean has Kakao Talk on their mobile phone.
Exactly, so they already have a huge database of users. And for the SK Planet, they're the parent company of NaviCall, which is another huge call taxi apps, call taxi service. So they already have very well-established bases. Moving on, I'm going to show you a trending video. It's titled Father's Shoes. So let's have a look. There's a photo of a young girl smiling on someone's desk. It's a man's daughter who is now grown up and is now a college freshman and has recently moved out of home to live closer to school. All day long, she's at the back of his mind. Meanwhile, the daughter is heading back to her small flat after a long day, and she's taking a rest when she gets an unexpected parcel. It's from her dad with his shoes inside. The letter reads, "The house is empty with my daughter gone. I wonder if you're doing okay. It's a scary world these days. Don't open the door for strangers and leave daddy's shoes where they're easily seen."
Oh, I just got goosebumps down my spine. You know, the father's love for his daughter. You know, there's a new trend, the 딸바보. You know, dads just adore their daughters, even when they've outgrown them. You know, like they're much taller and bigger now, but they're still daddy's little girls.
Exactly,
you know?
exactly. And you know, this video was made by students for our company's video contest. So, you know, I'm sure you've experienced when you are old enough to live on your own and move out of home, you're excited to be, have that independence and finally be an adult, but you're also scared and lonely.
Right. But you need daddy shoes.
Exactly, to protect you. Yeah. Moving on, not so touching, but an exciting video. I'm going to leave you with a new music video from Miss A. It's titled Only You. Now, it's the group's first music video in 2 years, and it's already sweeping all the music charts here in Korea, so please enjoy.
And a good Tuesday morning to you all as we kick things off with the 2015 Kia Classic, where the Korean golfers look to win their 6th LPGA Tour title in 7 tries, only to come up short as American Christy Kerr claimed her first title of the season. Despite Korea's Lee Mi-rim going strong during the first 3 rounds of the event, she would end up losing her lead in the 4th round as Christy Kerr storms through the 18 holes on the final day with an amazing 7 under par to finish off at 20 under par overall for a 2-stroke victory over Lee Mi-rim. A huge victory for the American as 6 Koreans would finish in the top 10, including Park In-bi, who would finish in 5th place 2 strokes behind the 3rd place winner, Lydia Ko. Now, Korea and New Zealand might have a nice free trade agreement going on now, but at the Seoul World Cup Stadium later tonight, no free wins as the two sides are set for their matchup at 8 p.m. tonight. The 56th-ranked Taeguk Warriors are undefeated against the 134th-ranked New Zealand team with 5 wins and 1 draw, but the bigger story of the match will be Chaduri and his final appearance as a Korean national football team member. And manager Uli Stilicke stated earlier he will be subbed out a few minutes before the end of the first half for a well-deserved ovation from the fans before his retirement ceremony takes place during halftime. Now going to the 2014-2015 Men's V-League Championship Series, the 8-time champions Samsung Hwaja Blue Fangs were the heavy favorites against the OK Savings Bank. Only OK Savings Bank crushed the Blue Fangs 3-0 in Game 1. And last night, Game 2 took place with the Blue Fangs looking to even the series. But holy cow, a new match, but same start for the OK Savings Bank as their defense against Leo Martinez helps them take the first 2 sets with ease, 25-22 and 25-20. And despite Samsung Hwaja trying to rally back in this match to avoid a 2-0 hole, Robert Landy Simone's 24 points and Song Myung-gun's 14 help OK Savings Bank with another 3-0 sweep, as they're now 1 win away from their first V-League title. Now, Pittsburgh Pirates slugger Kang Jong-ho's short trip to the minor league camp gave him an opportunity to work out his hitting mechanics, leading to him hitting his second home run of the spring against the Atlanta Braves on Sunday. And while his manager Clint Hurdle was pleased with him breaking out of his slump, questions still remain whether or not he can hit at a major league level. But the Pirates insist that he will not start the season in the minors and hopes that his last game is just a preview of more things to come for the former Nexan hero, as his defensive abilities should be an asset for the Pirates. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Your head spins when you stand up. You feel dizzy when you grab objects from a shelf. You have trouble reading because of blurred vision. Your ears get stuffy sometimes. You have trouble hearing. If you're experiencing more than half of these symptoms, you should receive medical assistance. According to data from the Health Insurance Review and Assessment Service, the number of patients experiencing dizziness has jumped by 16% over the last 3 years. There are many causes behind dizziness. More than half of the cases are caused by peripheral vertigo, a condition that stems from problems within the ear. Benign paroxysmal positional vertigo, or BPPV, is caused when small crystals in the ear become loose and benign, floating in your inner ear fluid. Meniere's disease can lead to an increase in fluid from the cochlea that creates more pressure and problems for circulation. It can come with dizziness, ringing in the ears, and even loss in hearing. There are also causes that stem from the brain. People in their 50s who have high blood pressure, diabetes, or hyperlipidemia that carry risk from cerebrovascular diseases such as strokes or brain tumors may also experience dizziness. Dizziness may also come from bad posture in the spine, which may obstruct healthy blood flow to the brain and bring about neck pain as well. There are many different causes for dizziness, so it's important to look carefully for symptoms and seek the right treatment. We'll look into what those options might be.
Some 40% of people say they've experienced dizziness at one point in their lives. And to find out exactly what the cause is, joining us is Dr. Hwang Chan-ho from Yangchun Seoul EMT Clinic. Good morning, doctor.
Thank you for joining us, doctor. Now, us lay people have a tendency to get dizziness and anemia confused. You know, you feel dizzy, oh, you must have anemia. But medically, I heard that those two are very different. And tell us about the difference between the two.
Many people confuse anemia and dizziness. Actually, anemia is literally the decrease in the amount of the red blood cell or the hemoglobin. Actually, the main cause of dizziness is from ear disease, the BPPV, the Meniere disease, and vestibular neuronitis. Actually, anemia is a very minor cause of dizziness. It's important to know the exact cause of the dizziness rather than taking the iron or the restorative nutritional medicine.
So as we saw in the report, Doctor, the main causes stem actually from your brain or conditions within the brain, also your ears. Now, how do you differentiate the two?
Actually, both diseases show the dizziness, but there is a difference in accompanying the symptoms. Actually, in patients with the stroke, they show very serious accompanying symptom, like the weakness, one-sided weakness of the body, and the severe headache, confusion, or the difficulty in speaking and the swallowing. Actually, and on the other hand, the ear-originated disease show only the dizziness symptom. And in case of the BPPV, they show the very severe dizziness, but they don't feel dizziness when they don't move. When they move, and they feel dizziness. And the Meniere disease, there is a tinnitus and very fluctuating the hearing loss. And the vestibular neuronitis, the patient feel the very severe sense of spinning, but there's no loss of consciousness or no one-sided weakness. That's the point.
But even if we don't have any physical problems, some people experience dizziness in their everyday lives, such as when you don't get enough sleep or when you stand up abruptly. Like, does this require any medical treatment?
Actually, the people can feel dizzy if they have orthostatic hypertension. Actually, the orthostatic hypertension occurs when the blood pressure drops suddenly when the sudden stand-up or stretching. And it's very common and very prevalent in the elderly. But minor orthostatic hypertension doesn't require any treatment. And if you have a a lot of stress or panic disorder or very sleep-deprived status, you can feel dizzy. And at that case, you can, if you take enough the sleep and the rest and remove the causative condition, the dizziness will disappear.
So there are a lot of factors that can cause dizziness, and receiving treatment accordingly and at the right time is important. So let's look at some of the options that are out there.
If you experience sudden dizziness, the cause could be in your ears. Park Ji-hye has had extreme dizziness recently and is having trouble carrying out her daily routine.
When I get up in the morning, I feel really dizzy and the ceiling spins each time I move my head, so I'm here to receive treatment.
When you're experiencing dizziness, the eyes go through a routine movement regardless of the patient's will. By using a video device in glasses and examining the response in their eyes, doctors can tell whether the problems come from the ears or the brain. If there are problems within the ears, unlike other people, the eyes will continually move back and forth. If so, an extra hearing test is conducted to see whether there are symptoms of Meniere's disease.
Peripheral vertigo often comes with ringing or loss of hearing in the ears, but not with other symptoms in the nervous system. Also, the degree or type of dizziness changes depending on the location of the head.
If you have BPPV, the doctor maneuvers the position of your head so that the crystal within the ear is returned to its original position. One method is called the barbecue roll, where the patient's entire body and head are rotated 90 degrees each. Another method is called Epley, that only moves the location of the head. In the case of patients with Meniere's disease, oral medication is first used to reduce the fluid in the ear. Most 70% experience improvement just with medication. If not, steroids are directly injected towards the inside of the eardrum. However, if problems are not found within the ears, patients should receive an MRI to see if they have experienced a stroke or if they have a brain tumor.
In the case of dizziness caused by cerebral infarction, the progression of the condition needs to be prevented by injecting medication such as the antiplaque serum. In the case of strokes or brain tumors, the dizziness can only be treated by removing the cause through surgery.
In Korean medicine, dizziness is usually seen to be caused by bad circulation in the body or problems with the spine. Following a basic checkup, the spine is examined as well.
In Korean medicine, dizziness is referred to as chonhun. It can be treated through spinal corrections or by using medicinal acupuncture and herbal medicine.
Massaging the muscles in the back and correcting the spine can help eradicate dizziness. Also, acupuncture in the meridian points, Yepung and Imun, which are connected to the ears and head, can help, as well as using medicinal acupuncture or consuming herbal medicine made with chrysanthemum, kugija, and chunma. With the many causes behind dizziness, it's important to understand what it may be and receive treatment accordingly.
Well, Dr. Huang, as we saw, in the case of BPPV or Meniere's disease, it seems that it's simple outpatient treatments and it's nothing really invasive or something that requires hospitalization. Now, is this a permanent cure?
Yeah, in BPPV, the treatment result is quite excellent. And if the otoconia, small crystal, is in the posterior canal, the success rate is over 90%. 90%. And when this crystal is located in the lateral canal, the success rate is 75%. Actually, just one the maneuver is a high. They showed very high the success rate, and with 2 or 3 repeated the positional maneuver, most people can be cured completely.
But I guess prevention is the most important thing. So are there anything that people should watch out for or do to prevent dizziness in our everyday lives?
Actually, in case of the orthostatic hypertension, avoid overlap the stand up or stretching, and
so get up slowly.
right. Try to stand up slowly. It's very important, and the treating ear infection and the viral infection, the court immediately can help prevent the dizziness. And going to bed early and avoiding the fatigue or other of stress, and the reducing the alcohol consumption and caffeine and the regular exercise can help to maintain the body balance.
So basically general tips for your overall health that will actually help you prevent dizziness in your lives, right?
Right.
All right, thank you, doctor, very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, there are many all-you-can-eat restaurants around the world. Well, here in Korea, there are restaurants that offer all-you-can-eat and then some. All you can get and then some, and then refuel, and then another serving.
Which would be a big waste of money on you, right? Just one little trip, and it's
Alex
over.
Segrist joins us for that. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning. Good morning. It's good to be here. And yes, this topic is something that's really near and dear to my heart. But what's surprising is when you come to Korea as a foreigner, you show up and you realize, oh, the side dishes are unlimited. So that's kind of something that we're used to. And there are some buffets here, but there's a new trend in the buffet, specifically some high-end stuff like lobsters and things of that nature. So why don't we take a look at what has gotten me a little bit excited this week. Now, most all-you-can-eat places offer you bottomless dishes that you can enjoy for the price of about $10 to $20. And you can get a lot inside of you for that. Now, in the past, you could find places that served simple dishes such as samgyetang or ginseng chicken soup for only $6 to other bottomless options of steamed pig's feet and pizza. Now, what we have added to this list now, upscale dishes, some higher end stuff that are giving customers a little bit more options when it comes to the all-you-can-eat buffet menus. So nowadays in Korea, we see an increase in the popularity of the unlimited food buffets. And the first place I came to think of was the unlimited main course, which here is steak. So I'm going to enjoy an unlimited amount of steak here. An average steak in the past would cost about $50 to $60, but when you come here, you can get a much better cost and still pretty good quality.
It tastes good and the texture was pleasing as well, so I'm pretty satisfied.
Usually when you think of steak in Korea, you think of it being pretty expensive, but here it's affordable and the texture and taste are really good.
Now the best feature of this restaurant is that you can get bottomless steak grilled on the spot for the price of only $20 to $30. Now what I look for usually is variety and quantity when I go to a buffet.
And today, I got both. And it's great because for the same price, you can just keep ordering more and more and you don't have to pay extra. Oh, I'm satisfied. After one more. Tokyo, one more please.
I'm well aware of it.
We're able to get the ingredients for a good price. Steak is still quite expensive in Korea and considered a pricey meal, but we can offer better prices compared to other restaurants.
Now this one certainly caught my attention. All-you-can-eat lobster joint also opened up recently, creating a lot of buzz online.
Now this is one that
a
I
lot
want
of
to
these
check out.
places weren't able to offer all-you-can-eat services in the past because of the difficulties with distribution and certain ingredients. But now with more restaurants like these, the supply is a lot better. Because the supply of ingredients is a lot faster and more efficient, and they also come from various routes, all-you-can-eat restaurants have become a more plausible option.
So far this year, competition has been pretty fierce in the dessert industry. New brands are springing up, new styles, new types of food. This particular cafe offers 13 different types of cake. Now, normally, a slice of cake goes for around $5 if you think of the average cafe around here. But for this one, you get as much as you want for $7. And then, of course, throw on a $4 coffee, hand-dripped coffee, and it adds to the popularity of the place. It was quite an interesting dessert experience.
And the cakes actually look good.
Oh, they were.
I like that I can try out all these different types of cake with a specific amount of money. It's a lot more affordable and easier on the wallet.
I love that I can try out many different things over a long stretch of time.
Now, there are also other places offering unlimited servings of high-end chocolate, macaroons, baked goods. I mean, a lot of really delicious dessert items, reflecting the change in spending here in Korea.
It's almost a
The trends
paradise.
in the food industry these days reflect the state of the economy. People want to feel more at ease when eating, even if it's not for the same price, or they want to feel like they're splurging even though they're not spending a lot of money.
For those with a sweet tooth.
Now, another change in the industry is that many all-you-can-eat places used to be limited to one particular dish. But now there are even places offering unlimited servings of shabu-shabu with the additional salad bar or buffet line.
Is there a time limit? Can you stay there all day?
If it's crowded, they sometimes enforce it, but not always.
Aha.
Now, this one, you get the greens, the different meat, noodle dishes, making a much more attractive meal. But here, I was actually impressed with the quality of meat.
Now, this is Young's paradise, the meat lover.
I mean, you can have the beef that comes from either Australia or the Hanu, the Korean.
Hanu?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take a steak over a pie any day.
The good news about this is not only is it a buffet line, you also get free refills of the shabu-shabu, so let's have one more. Two more, please. Two more. Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Why not? I was a little full afterwards, and I did have to kind of exercise.
I would imagine there is a time limit.
There is a time limit, but generally...
The salad bar didn't seem to be enough, and our customers seemed to want something that could be considered a main dish, so that's why we introduced shabu-shabu.
So I still keep getting this fresh meat after eating so much of it. Oh, it's so nice. And I think that's one of the best parts of this buffet, to be honest, is that not only do you get the Korean culture, you get a little bit of the Korean food, but you get the whole experience. You get not only the buffet, you get the shabu-shabu all together. This was an awesome time.
How many plates did you manage to kill there?
No comment on that one. Yeah, there is a time limit, but it's not really something to be too worried about. If it's packed, they will enforce it, but in my experiences in the past, usually if it's not too packed, it's okay.
Well, in my experience, a person can only eat so much.
Well,
Really?
You should join me one
Except
time.
for me.
Well, these trends are definitely improving in my opinion, so it's something to look forward to in the future.
Wow. You look full right now.
Man.
Maybe gain some pounds.
The next day after shooting some of that, I did have to eat almost nothing. I was full like for the whole next day, but it was worth it.
But Alex, it's not just Korea that has all-you-can-eat joints, but from where you come from in the U.S., there are a lot of those restaurants as well. So what's the difference?
I think there's a couple differences. One of the main ones for me is that in America, at least when I was going there, it would all be about how much can you fit in your stomach and get the best deal. And even though you have that in Korea, I have noticed a little bit more of a trend towards quality. So you're paying for all you can eat, but you're really paying also for that extra, higher level of steak or whatever it may be. Now you can also you can order from your table, which is something that you don't usually see in America. It's always go up and get it. So that was something
almost
different
like a
too.
buffet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So any other types of all-you-can-eat restaurants that are a little bit unique that you've researched?
A couple. I did a lot of research on it. There's an all-you-can-eat, I'm going to call it a makgeolli place. The makgeolli is an all-you-can have.
All you can drink?
But as you're drinking it, they give you as many side dishes as you
see.
want.
Oh, that sounds
So you buy the
perfect,
makgeolli
actually.
and then you get the side dishes. That's all you can eat.
From what I know, it started, the one I'm thinking of started in Jeonju. You can find it in Seoul now, but you get anything from the kimchi and tofu all the way up to the sannakji, the living octopus.
Kimchi and dubu, that's a great combination.
Right. So
really
next
is.
time you find an all-you-can-drink makgeolli place, you let us know.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if we can
That's a
film
deal.
that.
All right. Thanks so much, Alex.
Yep.
All right. That's just about does it for this edition of Korea Today.
All right, enjoy your Tuesday. We may get some rain, so drive safe if you are in Seoul or if you are in Korea in general. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.